Welcome to the Biz Dad Podcast, where we dive into the melding of fathership and entrepreneurship with your host, the original Biz Dad himself, Adam Labar. Adam is a Christian, a former Air Force officer, a dad to 3 amazing kids, a coach, a real estate investor, and a business owner. On this podcast, he'll explore the unique journeys of amazing dads who are striving for greatness in both business and family. So whether you're a dad who is an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned business owner, or simply a man striving to be a better dad, get ready as the Biz Dad brings you conversations to inspire, challenge, and equip you to be a better dad and entrepreneur. And now, here's Adam.
All right. So, everybody, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me for Rank. Today's guest, we got Frank Smollon, a good friend of mine, and also, as with a couple of the previous folks you guys have heard, a GoBundance member as well. Frank and I have actually, we've known each other quite a bit for quite a while. We have been on 5:30 in the morning phone calls. We were for like 2 years at the beginning of COVID. We started doing that. And then took a break when I moved to Florida, and now we're back at it again when we both remember to set our alarms. But we've done deals together. We're going to continue to do deals together in the future. We've spent time at I would say each other's houses, but I've only did the drive to your house. You've never done the drive to my house, so we'll see how that goes in the future. But all that being said, Frank is a solid dude. Looking forward to having a conversation with him. So. Frank, why don't you, obviously for me, I already know quite a bit about you, but if you can explain a little bit about who you are, your background, both business and as a dad, and then we'll kind of just keep the conversation rolling from there.
Yep. All right, Adam, thanks for having me. This is my first podcast, so I'm excited about it. And thanks for letting me sleep in a little extra this morning. Appreciate that. And now that you're in Florida, I'm much more likely to come to your house.
Yeah, thanks.
A little more traffic in Stafford, Virginia. I'm sure they'll be seeing me. Well, the question was a little bit about myself. I've got a wife and 2 kids and an 8-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son. I live near Annapolis, Maryland. The actual name of the town I live in is Davidsonville. My business is in Crofton, Maryland. And, so I run a few businesses here in this area. One is a manufacturing firm that sells commercial industrial heating equipment. Another one is that one's called United Energy Products, and the other company is a company that installs the chimney products we sell for boilers, water heaters, grease-up generators, and other applications. That's based here in Maryland. I also have 3 companies, one in Florida and one in Texas, one company that sells the chimney products that we sell here. So that's brand new. It's about 18 months old. We're going to build that up with a partner in this endeavors. And he handles most of that. So I'm very fortunate to have him. Just grew up in the Annapolis area. I grew up playing lacrosse my whole life. Well, at least through college. Mm-hmm. My son's playing lacrosse and soccer now. My daughter is not really into sports, which is nice for not having to drive her around. Like I see all these other families that have multiple kids, but it's also cool seeing her do something different because I was an athlete and so the singing, the dancing, drawing, painting, and all the stuff she likes to, is new and definitely interesting to see something different.
Awesome. Yeah. I would imagine the dynamic, of adding the femininity to the family and the artistic side, which, from what I know about you, not much on the artistic side, if I were to guess now. But I'm looking forward to, Diana growing up a little bit, our newest, who's, as of this recording, just over 3 weeks old, what she brings. Cause I've got 2 boys that, they love sports. They love riding dirt bikes and chasing animals. So we'll see what happens to me on my side when my little girl starts growing up. But, it's got to be a lot of fun.
I grew up in a family with 3 boys, so
oh boy, yeah.
The girl has been different and been wonderful.
For sure, that's awesome. All right, so the first thing I'm typically looking for is kind of chatting a little bit about your dad, kind of how you were raised, and then how that has helped mold you into the dad that you are. if I recall correctly, I mean, not that your dad first owned the business and then he's now passed it on to you. So kind of going through that whole dynamic as well, because I'm sure that having a family business and now you've grown it considerably since it was passed on to you. So just kind of help me understand where Frank comes from, from your dad's perspective.
So maybe I'll take it actually a generation back. My grandfather was in World War II in the Battle of Bulge. He hadn't been in the Army very long. He went to college and then he had to join the Army, and he was sent over to the Battle of the Bulge. And early on in the Battle of Bulge, he was captured by the Germans. Wow. And he spent several months in German prisoner of war camps. Packed like a sardine into the trains and marched, from Belgium into Germany. So he had a pretty rough time. And when he came back, they didn't really have a name for it, PTSD now, right? So my father had, I don't know a whole lot of details, heard more from my uncle, but it wasn't the best, father and, the nicest father to be around, drinking. And I even remember when I was young, and my grandfather, he was kind of a grumpy guy. So my dad always said that he learned how to be a good dad from his dad, all the things that his dad did.
Yeah.
So I feel like I had a great dad. I was very lucky. He was involved in, everything I did. I feel like everything from, I didn't do Boy Scouts. We did something called Y Indian Guides, and he was in that. I remember him being at the meetings and the camping trips. He coached like every sport of mine, probably except for basketball. He was my lacrosse coach all through youth sports. He never played lacrosse. Well, he did. He was on a team, like a small kind of team in college, and he didn't play in high school. So, he was really just on the team to be on the team. But he always loved lacrosse. And so he just dove head first into learning the sport so he could coach me and my brothers. And my dad started our business probably when I was like 9. I never really was around it until I graduated from college. It was small and it didn't really have anything for me to come do. And people ask me all the time if I worked in it. In high school and college, I didn't. There really wasn't. It was small, and there wasn't enough money to go around to keep a high school and college kid employed over the summers.
Yeah.
But my growing up, my parents were great. Like, one thing I remember about my dad is he was always there. He never missed any sporting events, any school things. He didn't have to travel a lot for work. I think when I was younger and like 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe he did, but I don't remember that. But because he started a business and it was a local business, just calling local contractors and stuff, he was around for everything. And then, even into college, which I'm amazed now that I'm actually working. I played lacrosse. I played all 4 years, probably played in like 60 games. And he probably made it to over 50 of the 60 games. He would go to, he would travel hours with my mom, and saying also with my dad. But they would go all over and they would watch our games, and, there weren't as many parents that were there for everything. So they were always very supportive. They started a business, you don't have a lot of money, right? They always found a way to put me into, good schools. I went to private schools, first to 12th grade into a private college. So, they weren't, I would say the first generation works hard. The second generation takes it to the next level. And the third generation spoiled. They come in and help early, right? So he was first generation. Like they didn't have the wealth and, that I'm fortunate to have because of all their efforts.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very fortunate. Had a very, very, good childhood and good college experience. And then coming out, I was lucky to work with my dad for 20 years. I learned a lot from him over that 20 years. Some things to do and some things not to do, right? So, but it was, I'm lucky to have the dad I had. We get along great. If he was my generation, we'd probably be best friends.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I've gone only on one of them thus far, but golf trip with you guys, and you guys seem to get along really well. And it was, it's always fun to watch fathers and sons that actually get along. You see a lot of bickering and a lot of complaining between some fathers and sons, but and I'm sure there is that. Don't get me wrong, and I'm sure there was a lot, and will probably still continue to be, because that's bound to happen. But you could tell when it's just the normal bickering, or when it's boy, they really need to work on their relationship, and it didn't seem that would be the case with you guys. So
we're giving each other a hard time, easy.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the same thing with.
Or so.
When I was growing up, my dad and I, we would get in some arguments here and there. But now, now that I can understand a bit more about where he came from and what led him to do the things he did, it makes me appreciate a lot more what I had, because I didn't realize it earlier. But yeah, it's always an interesting dynamic to look back, and if you could separate yourself from where you're at and actually pay attention to their situation, it really changes life a little bit. And it seems like that's what your dad did with his dad, right? And kind of realized, oh, there's some things I just don't want to do as a dad. So tell me what kind of things, when you were growing up. I mean, your dad was very involved in sports and everything like that. So, and you are also very involved in your kids' activities. So, was that something that you just appreciated, so you wanted to do it, or was that just like you didn't know any different, so I'm just going to be involved in sports? How did that kind of come around?
Yeah, so my dad was always into sports, so I guess it was kind of natural. He just got us in. I don't know what else he would put us into. But I always liked sports. My parents always say, like, and my son reminds me of probably myself. And my mom will always say, you always had a ball in her hand. You're always doing something. So I think we probably wanted to do it. Like if we got into it and didn't want to do it, kind of like my daughter is now, then they wouldn't have pushed. But my dad grew up playing football and baseball, but always really liked lacrosse. A lot of parents push their kids, or try and push their kids into, which I might be doing now with my son, the sport that they played in, like, right. So, but my dad parents were, they didn't, I actually started out playing baseball and saw some kids playing lacrosse on another field. I was like in right field and playing t-ball, bored as picking daisies, bored as you know what. And, so lacrosse team practice, and I was like, I want to go do that next year. Just, he grew up playing baseball, but wanted me to do what I wanted to do. And he got into it just as much as I did, so.
That's awesome.
Hopefully I answered your question.
Oh, yeah. Well, again, it's less about the question, more about the conversation, because I think that, so you mentioned like not wanting to push the sports onto your son, like you're wondering if you're doing that. I do the same thing, wondering that with golf, because, I look at Adam and he absolutely seems to love playing golf. And then sometimes when he's having a bad golf match, he's like, I'm terrible at this. I should never play anymore. I don't want to do it. This is dumb. I can't believe I play golf. Like, and then you're like, boy, is he only playing to try to please dad? Like, and I don't want that to be the case. Have you found that, like, in conversations with your son, do you ever get to that point, or is it more, you haven't reached that yet, or like, how does that kind of go with your son?
Yeah. So with Colin, like, whatever sport he's doing, he'll say it's his favorite sport.
Yeah.
And he's had a kind of a rough go with the teams he's been on in lacrosse. And so it's hard to figure out whether he's just in a bad situation or he doesn't like, because he does like it. He comes home, he picks the lacrosse stick up, he goes to the front yard, he'll pick the stick up around the house. But then he'll like change his mind sometimes. Like he told his mother a couple months ago that he really wants to focus on soccer. So I don't know if that means drop lacrosse and just go soccer, but I want to keep him. If he wants to focus on soccer, that's great. So I'm going to do. But I always believe in like multi-sports, do more than just one, right? So yeah, it's hard to figure out where they're at. Like boys don't talk so much and tell you how they're feeling. Like my daughter, for example, like she just doesn't want to do sports. We know exactly. Like when she says something, we believe her. We know she doesn't want to do it. Like with her, it's more like, should we try and push her into it a little bit, or just let her not do it? But I think with her, we know she just doesn't want to do it. She'll go out in the front yard and play. But with Colin, it's like, to your point, like a bad practice, a bad game, not much playing time. Just, are they disappointed in themselves, or are they just not liking it? Sometimes you see them out there, they seem lackadaisical. It's you don't know, right? So you just got to try and take a balance. Trying to, this is part of being a dad, being a parent. Trying to read the situation, just the best you can.
Yeah, well, that's about all we can do, right? And be willing to learn and adjust, and be willing to let the kid kind of figure themselves out. The only thing that I do tell Adam is, like, I don't care if you want to switch sports, but you're going to follow through with the commitment that you made. So if your commitment is to finish you committed to this season, then we're going to finish this season, and then you can switch to something else later. That's really the only thing that I'm adamant on. Like, no, you're going to finish the season. Like, it's not, that one's a non-negotiable.
Yeah, we do the same thing. And we had something happen with his lacrosse coach in the fall. He started in September, and the season ends in mid-June after. And it's really the first time I thought about letting him quit, because I heard somebody say that kind of like the opposite of what you always hear is like, make a commitment. Like they said, I forget where it was, but they're talking about like, sometimes it's good to quit. Don't stay in something that isn't working or isn't beneficial, or just because you made a commitment. And it kind of resonated with me, but I still always believed in, you make a commitment to a team, you finish the season or whatever. Yeah. But I'll admit that because of what went down, it was the first time I was almost like, well, maybe it's better to just walk away from the situation. And to be honest, I kind of wish we had, just the way the season's transpired. Like everything in life, it's a lesson, we'll take something out, myself and he will take something out of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's one of those never say never, never say always type of things, right? Like, there's always, I would imagine there's going to be a situation at some point where I'm going to say, yeah, it's just time. Like, it's time for us to step away from this league. This is not the best for you, right? At least make me pause a little bit and think through that a little bit better than just like, hey, you're sticking to a commitment. Yeah, that's valid.
What did we rob him of? Could he have gone on another team and had something where he was having fun, didn't have to deal with some of the crap that's going on? But I'm with you. I'm more like, you make it. That's what we've been saying. Like, we've only got 2 months left. We've only got a month left. 3 weeks. So it's more where we're at.
And I guess, even in business, kind of, when we see something that needs to be cut from the business, we make the decision to cut it, right? It's not like I'm not married to that idea in business. I'm looking at it going, no, like this is something that needs to be cut. We're cutting it. Not like, well, Adam, you made a commitment to make sure that you're like, no, like it needs to be cut. So we're going to cut it. So,
do it at work. Why wouldn't you do it at home? And
exactly. Yeah. I didn't think about it until we start talking about this. So, So that being said, kind of, go ahead.
You're teaching your kids to stick with something. Think about an employee or like a bad deal you got in. You want to get out of it. You don't just stay in it because you made a commitment to it.
For sure.
Hiring somebody or a partner on a deal. You get out of it.
That's one thing that I like to try to bring up is things that, like, what sort of lessons did you learn in business that help you be a dad, and what sort of lessons did you learn as a dad that help you in business? And this is exactly one of those things. Like, I would have never really looked at it in that way. I'm a person that says if I promise I'm going to do something, I'm definitely going to do it, which means I very, very rarely promise something because I never know where my life is going to take me from one minute to the next. But so maybe it's a bias, I guess, on my side to work through. But
it's just been like, it's almost like it could be a limiting belief, like just passed down from generations. It's just work, right? That like just something you've always been told. You always hear from everybody else. Everybody's been told that.
For sure. Yeah. And I think that it's valid to challenge that. And I can see how it could turn into a limiting belief. So I'll definitely take that that brain power and figure something out with that and make sure that I'm understanding it properly. And I think it's also going to go back to, okay, are you, Adam, are you just giving up on this? And that's why we're walking away? Or is there a reason behind it? Like, that's going to be one of those moments where we're going to have to talk through, what it is. And I'm going to have to pull those emotions out. So whether they want to or not, dagnabbit. But so,
and with this, with the lacrosse team, a lot of they call and didn't know, like, because it was us and the coaches. So for him, it would have been he would have just been like, all right, we're quitting. And he would have known the reason. So there was all was some of that behind sticking with it.
You know, when we first moved here to Florida, I put our kids in one school, and I did not end up very pleased with the education and the staff at the school. You know, I did interviews and everything beforehand before we even moved down here to try to figure out the right school. And then, you know, I picked the school that I thought made the most sense. Turns out it was a bad decision on my part, but going through the process, I'm very much like, hey, I need to let Adam know. Like Rourke was, I mean, he was in preschool. It didn't really matter for him. He's just hanging out. But Adam, I wanted to make sure that he knew, like, hey, these are the reasons that we're looking at moving to a school, because he already made friends. Like, he made connections. We were there for a couple months. And so I sat him down a couple times and went through, like, hey, this is what's going on. This is why we're doing what we're doing. And then, of course, it goes back to bite me in the butt, because he goes to school and he tells his teacher why we're leaving. And stories to the teacher about the teacher. I was like, well, that's not exactly how we saw that playing out, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, it is what it is. I mean, that was all known. It was all said, but it was comical. But yeah, because I don't want that to happen. If I'm making a decision that affects his life, I want him to know, you know, why it is. And in the grand scheme of things, made sense.
Yeah, that was probably more of a business decision, like type decision. Like you left something because, you know,
yeah,
betterment.
For sure. Yeah, when I saw review words for third grade as cat, I was like, oh, okay, that's a review word for kindergarten. You know, and it all kept on going downhill from there. So I want to shift a tiny bit to the business side of the house, right? So you started in the business with your dad. Was that in college or after college?
Yeah, so I graduated from college in May of 1997 and had no idea what I wanted to do.
Golly, you're old. I mean, yeah, 97.
I had a 6 backpack trip to Europe planned with a friend. It was like in the last half of the summer. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I was going to move to Florida and like work a marina or a bar, or go to Colorado for a year, be a ski bum, work at a ski store or something. But I kind of always knew I wanted to come back and work with my dad. I felt like that kind of talks through life, you know, high school, college. It was like, you know, go get some experience somewhere and come back. And I still wish I had done that, because having outside experience would have been good. So the day after I graduated, Dad's business was like 4 or 5 people. Well, his main guy, I already knew it, you know, at the beginning of summer, he needed somebody. He needed more help. The day after I graduated, his main guy quit. So he had 2 extents. So we now needed 2 people, and he was losing his like top sales guy. So a few weeks after I graduated, my mom said, you know, hey, why don't you know, your dad will never say it to you, but he would love for you to come and work for him. So I said, well, why don't I take the summer off on this trip, and I'll start the day after Labor Day. So I did. I started after Labor Day in 1997. Never been on a job interview. I never had to write a resume. So I just been lucky. You know, there's numerous times where along the way I thought, is this for me? You know, I get tired of the job. I'm like, all right, what am I going to do next? It's not a whole lot here. So luckily along the way, I've been able to delegate and elevate, you know, move up to the next job, find somebody, and even create. Like we started a business in 2007, and then I got into the financial part. Then there were some split ups with my brothers. They left and took parts of the business, and so that elevated me even further. So I forget where with the question.
No, that was great. Yeah. I was just asking about, I like how when you jumped into the business. So right after college.
After college, and just really, again, like I wish I had taken 2 or 3 years and got somewhere to work just to get the experience. Because working for your dad, it's very different, right? Mm-hmm. It's so you're treated well, you're looked at differently by the. It would have been nice to go work for another family business where there were sons or kids, so I could get an idea of what it was like to, you know, when I was going to come here. But it all worked out well. So.
I picture you as Tommy Boy selling brake pads.
Yeah,
so
that was me. This is a PG or G rated podcast, so I won't
actually make the quotes. Yeah. Oh, fantastic. No, that's great. So that being said, like, do you have plans or what is your idea about involving your kids in the business? Because it was much smaller when you started than it is now. So now you have a much larger business with multiple businesses out on top of it. So how do you envision, or do you try not to envision, or whatever the case may be, your kids' involvement in the business?
Yeah, I mean, I want to have opportunities for them if they're interested.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I kind of like my dad's approach, the way he did with me. Like, I'd like for them to go get some other experience if they want to. My dad never pushed me. He never really, knew that I could if I wanted to. So maybe I would. The only thing different I did with my dad was with my kids say, "It's here if you want it." But if you don't want to, that's fine too. It would be good if you went and worked for somebody for 3, 4, 5 years and then come in. There's going to be, my Colin's 10, we're talking 12, 14 years before they'd even be like kind of hitting the workforce, and what this business could be then. Like the hockey program has happened over the last couple of years. I mean, we just, we're located here in the DC area, a couple of businesses here. We just started one in Florida, started one in Texas, started in California. There's going to be so many more opportunities and things.
Yeah, for sure. I
had one opportunity, one job that was available in one place. They're going to have so many different options. Hopefully, all keeps going well by the time they get out. They want to go to live in California. They want to go to Texas. There'll be other states. They want to get into the chimneys or boilers or into manufacturing. So hopefully they'll have a lot of options. If they're not into it, then they're not into it. I'll be able to have the ability to support them. And what, I mean, it might be cool if they're into something else and I go in and go into business with them or give them some money to fund what they want to do and help them start it and be a part of it. That would be cool too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I talked to somebody that was like, "Hey, we'll give you, X amount of money and 2 years to figure out what you want to do. So if you use that money for college, that's great. If you use that money to get into, you want to be an actor or an actress and you want to fly out to California and live off of this money for 2 years, that's fine too. Like whatever it is." But I really I like for my kids, I want them to explore. One thing I don't know, I maybe even told you this before, but like. I joined the military because I didn't know there was an option other than that, like I never even looked at college because I didn't like it was just never on the table. So I joined the military and I want my kids to go, okay, well, I do want to join the military because that's what I want to do, not because that's my only option, and, I do want to join in the family business because that's what I want to do, not because that's the only option, that type of stuff. But go out and explore and have fun and learn and do what you want to do. But mom and dad are always here to help. I mean, we're going to likely have businesses for the rest of our lives just because that's, something I like to do. So it's
the one I will say is that there's two of them that having multiple, each maybe having them go into a different area. So not like when I graduated, my middle brother came a year later and then my youngest brother came like 3 years later. So we all were in one place, one business, doing the same job. Well, there's only so much to one person's got to be in charge of it. What would be good for them is to have their own thing to do and just do it independent of each other. And
there's only so many small ones you want in one spot. Let's be honest. So
one's enough for you right now.
Yeah. Oh, trust me. I've been a business partner of yours. One is enough. I don't need another one or two on top of that. So, tell me a little bit about like your I guess good experiences and bad experiences, things you've screwed up on that you're trying to correct with raising the kiddos, and things that you're like, man, I think I'm really crushing it in this area. What talk to me a little bit about that.
I would say that I feel like I'm kind of following my dad's footsteps, and I'm there a lot. For them. I don't miss any games. I don't miss any. I'm not going to say any, but there's very, very few of things that I miss. I'm at every game. I try and get to as many practices to watch that I can. As you know, I take each kid on a trip every year.
I love this, dude.
And then probably do even more than one trip. I just took my daughter to Tampa to go see Taylor Swift, taking my son to go to a trade coach card show in Chicago in July. So I think I'm pretty good at, really good at being there for him and doing some things. And I got that from my dad, and I know how it was for me to have him at, even up into college, like being at all my games and stuff like that. But purposely designed my businesses to be able to me to do that, take put people in charge. Like we all read the book, Who Not How, right? I've really trying to implement that into my life so that I have more free time and have actually better people running parts of my business than I can do. So I feel like that's something I do pretty good. You ask them, they probably know, well, Daddy was away on a trip and missed this.
Yeah.
That's rare. Even with having these offices in Florida, Texas, California, I've got a business partner that is basically running them. And I've only been to Texas a couple of times before in the last 18 months.
Nice. Yeah.
I design.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's one of the reasons I left the military is I wanted to be able to design that a little bit more, have a little bit more freedom to, be a dad and kind of be involved. I like to be a dad. Hence, I even talk to people about it, right? Like this is, one of the things I absolutely love doing. And, you've mentioned to me multiple times that the annual trip with the kids, and I am gonna happily steal that from you for sure.
I still
have to talk to the wife. You stole a what?
I stole it from somebody else.
Good. It's been passed on. And that's, I mean, I think I told you before we started recording, that's kind of one of my intentions on this is to steal as many good ideas from people as possible. And if somebody else picks it up, that's great. So steal the good ideas and then, remember the bad ideas so that you don't do those too. Right. So, how did the trips actually start? How did you get, or did you need buy-in from your wife, or was she totally down with that concept? Like, how did that kind of?
So my wife's a stay-at-home mom, and I think she would love the thought of me taking one of them. It wasn't that hard. In fact, I just said, "Why don't you do it?" She's like, "I'm with them all the time. I don't need any more time." I got the idea from Mark Schwager, who's a good abundance guy, and his daughters are, maybe probably out of high school or college and out of college. And he's been doing it for years. And really basically it is just let the kids pick and, you go away. I want to do it for at least a couple nights. This is the third year I'm on. The first year, my daughter just wanted to go down to Ocean City, Maryland. We went to the Holiday Inn. We just hung out. There was a restaurant there with a playground she liked, and that was really what she wanted. She was 6. So we hung out on the beach, did the boardwalk, and it's really just about getting away and being with them. And as you know, like getting kids one-on-one, they're so different. They behave better. They got better conversations. Like it's just the being one-on-one. My son, you'll like this. You know this. He picked Pinehurst, years old. It was in June. I'm thinking it won't be so hot in June, and it was hot. But we went out. We played, the Cradle a couple times, which is par 3 course. And then we played number 2, which I didn't think he was going to make it through, but he did. Super hot. But at the end, all he wanted to do was drive around and see the clubhouse at each course. There's like 8 or 9 courses. Awesome. So that's how at the end of the day, we went around and went to each clubhouse, went in the pro shop, got some stuff. But I let them pick. And, it's fairly simple now. Actually, last year I went to the Daytona NASCAR race, and Isabel wanted to go to Disney and the American Girl doll store. Hers is usually around shop. But just let them pick, and it's all about them when you go. It's just getting a one-on-one with them, doing something fun that they like. Yeah. You see a different side of them. Like, it's just me and them. They just kind of bicker and like, how kids are.
Yep. They're brother and sister. That's what they do.
Yeah, they're brother. Yeah. So
I would imagine when Colin's like 16, it's going to be, instead of going to a NASCAR race, he's going to say, let's go do those. Let's go drive those Ferrari race cars out in Nevada and chase each other around.
You don't want to go to Europe and go to like a English Premier League soccer game or something, like F1 race. That's what
I mean, the F1 races are fun. I mean, we did the one with some Go Bunnies guys down in Miami, and that was a really good time. I had fun.
I did the Montreal one a number of years ago, and I will be totally happy with it. Like as they get older, this stuff we will do will be, that more and more happy.
Yeah.
There's a little side to it to me having
Oh,
fun
for sure. Yeah. You get some extra fun trips out of it.
Yeah.
I think the extra fun trips are it's hard to tell. Is the time with the individual child the bonus, or is the extra fun trip the bonus? I don't know. That's awesome. Yeah.
I never would have gone and seen Taylor Swift without.
Oh, please. Of all the things I know about you, Taylor Swift is like your number one, your number one fan for sure. So
It took them again.
Oh, again? Oh boy, gracious.
But no, it's just going to maybe do some things on it, especially with this.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, I can totally see you walking around the American Girl doll store and then jumping into Taylor Swift with just you and Colin. Yeah,
we actually went there 3 days in a row.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. 3 days we were down there.
Did you have to buy a doll all 3 days too?
Bought a doll the first day and just maybe some clothes and little accessories.
Of course, yes. Got to accessorize. I don't have any American Girl dolls. All I have is 2 boys right now that are interested in things. We'll see what happens when the little girl goes, but I have been told that those things can get pretty pricey pretty quickly.
Well, by the time Diana is American Girl doll age, hopefully Isabel will be growing out of her and can get rid of some stuff and send them down to you.
Hand them all down. Yeah, that's funny. Or maybe you'll move down here and be done with Maryland and get away from that.
That would be great.
When COVID first kicked off, completely had nothing to do with kids or anything, but COVID first kicked off, I had a doctor's appointment up in Maryland. Things had were kind of progressing. We weren't sure what was happening yet. So I go to this doctor's appointment in Maryland, and I'm walking around a grocery store, and I was getting some breakfast because it was like a 6:30 in the morning doctor's appointment or something silly like that. So it's like 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm at this grocery store grabbing some stuff, and this person's following me around, and they're like, "Can I excuse me? This aisle is one way." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "It's a grocery store aisle." They're like, "Yeah, so they're all one way now, and you have to go the one way." I was like, "Oh, okay." So then I continued doing my thing, going the one way. And then a little bit later, there's another person stalking me. Excuse me, you need to be wearing a mask. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, it was so mind boggling. And I felt like I was in the Democratic People's Republic of Maryland instead of Maryland. And then all of a sudden the whole country turned into that. I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, it was ridiculous.
Mary was on the floor in the aisles.
Oh yeah, it was nuts. I was like, what in the world? This is ridiculous. But
Maryland was early adapters on all that.
For sure. And little did I know that the whole country was going to turn that way. Like, it just woofed out. But anywho, so the business side of the house, if the kids want to be involved, they will be. Like, do you have any ideas right now that you're working through on like how to get them thinking in a business? Like, your kids are in private school, my kids are in private school. Like, I have zero desire for my kids to be in public school. It's either going to be private, and I'm recently thinking about doing homeschooling more and more for the freedom to be able to do kind of whatever I want. Because even in private school, yes, I feel as though I've got a little bit more control over their education and understanding of what's happening than I do in public school. But I also, am lacking a little bit of the freedom that I would like. So, trying to really gauge the route to go. But I want to add things like Adam wants to invest in properties with me, right? So I've been putting together a plan on how to do a vending machine route for him and like create a little business for him, help him learn these types of things. One of the struggles I'm having is, he's at school 8 hours a day. And then of course he comes home and he's got homework. And then when the heck am I supposed to find time to do all of this stuff and add these things? But I really want to introduce him into more business thought processes and how to do all of that type of stuff. So I'm curious if you are looking into that at all, if you've ever thought about that, like how to start to introduce those types of things.
Yeah, I think about it. I haven't really come across anything great yet, especially for a 10-year-old. Other than bringing them to work with me every so often. But they show interest in it and they actually ask about it. So just kind of having conversations with,
for sure.
They'll ask, "What do you own this? Do you like, what's this?" Like, but then the other side is like, it'd probably be easier for me to teach them to do the real estate. They can't come here every day and really learn what we do.
Yeah.
The real estate stuff can be done at home. Like, I want to start Colin into understanding how I'm managing my condo at the beach. Other real estate. I don't have a whole lot of real estate right now. I've sold it off more over the last 3 or 4 years than purchased, but I want to build it up again. Just one thing mine and dad never did, probably because he didn't have the money, is investing, right? Even like just 401ks or, be an LP or something like that. So I really want to start involving them, at least, when I'm going through some of this and bringing them in and 10 or 11-year-old level, explaining to them because I didn't know about that stuff until I was 40. Right?
Yeah.
So just probably thinking more concerned about like, what didn't I know? What that I didn't know until I'm 40, or I'm sure there's stuff I'll learn at 50 that I didn't know. Like, what can I teach them that I didn't know? Because the business side is going to be hard. I think that, when, Colin gets in high school and they're starting to work jobs. Like, if they want to come in here and work, like, that would be the way to start really bringing them into this business. Outside of just talk, I tell them what I'm doing. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to Toronto because I'm talking to this company because I want to buy them and this. So I talk to them as much as I can. It's something I think about more and more, and I haven't really come up with. To your point, like getting into buying something and doing something, like the guy to paper route when I was a kid, I cut lawns and stuff like that. I think they're just a little too young for some of these things that I can start pushing into. But it's on my mind. I haven't found anything,
Well, I'll let you, when I get the vending machine route up and running, I'll kind of let you know. Cause like my thought process was a house for each of them, kind of go through the books and understand. But when I started really breaking it down, I was like, all right, well, I think they'll understand a bag of Doritos better than they'll understand a HVAC system. Right. So, if I could teach them supply and demand and how this works and like with the work that it takes to set this up. And then, from the research I've done, I mean, you could set these things up if they're making, $25,000 a year, you could sell this thing for $100,000, sell the route for $100,000. And then you've built a little business and now you've sold it. And now I've taught my son how to build a business and how to sell it and what the process is. And, they can go to Sam's with me every week to refill all the stuff. And it's a little bit of extra work on my side, but like what great value that could bring to them.
More time with your kids, just
for sure. Yep. Also have more time with them. I'll be able to teach them a little bit more about business and be able to track supply and demand. And hey, Doritos sell better when it's not a vending machine sitting at a gym. Perhaps protein bars will work better at the gym. And like to me, I love the concept of it. So I've got a little plan built out. Now I just I'll probably work on it in the summer more because my kids will have a little bit more time to be able to do that.
I definitely love to learn more about that. I picture Colin eating the Doritos and all, eating the profits as we're driving.
Adam actually asked that. He says, "Can I have if we own the business? Can I actually eat some of those?" I said, "Well, technically, I mean, you can. You already bought them. We just have to write it off on the paperwork on the business. That way, we know that this particular one was an eat an expense, if you will. So." We'll have to have our own line item in there for, getting high on their own product, So.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Look forward to hearing more.
No, for sure. Yeah. Now that I'm saying it out loud on a recording, I'm going to definitely have to do it and hold myself accountable to it, Now I got to do it. But my assistant has really helped out in putting a lot of that together and finding all the stuff that I need. And it's, I really look forward to doing it. And the boys have talked about it multiple times. So, but I think it's because they want free Doritos. I'm pretty sure of it.
That's definitely planned for it.
I'm sure.
There's candy in those machines too.
Hey, Dad, the Starbursts, they're not selling very well. Maybe I should have a pack, just saying. That's funny. But what else kind of do you think that you want to chat about being a dad? I mean, I want this to be, open. Anything that you feel like you want to discuss as well. I mean, I'll continue to pull ideas out if you've got nothing, but
I can't think of anything else.
Well, that's because this is your first time and you're really nervous. You're really nervous talking to me, Frank. That's what it is. So, I want to go back to the father-son golf for a minute, right? Because there's going to be a point where you kind of switch that, right? Where it's going to be time for your son to join you on the father-son golf match and golf tournaments. Have you thought about how that's going to go? I mean, you guys have already done Pinehurst together, jerk face, and I'm sure you'll do some more. But how do you foresee that kind of thing working out later on?
So the father-son golf trip is done it for 22 years now, and the worst playing 23rd year. It started in 2001. Actually started a little before that. A friend of mine that I went to high school with, his dad and my dad and I went to Myrtle Beach a couple of years while we were in high school. And then this friend of mine and I ended up putting together after college. Both of us came back to work for our dads in the businesses. And we said, hey, let's get this going again. And so we found a couple other father-sons. It was 8 of us the first year. And then after that, it went to like 12, like what my brothers went, my dad's cousin in front of his team as their dads. And now it's about 16 to 20 every year, but we've been doing it 23 years now. We've gone all over the place. I was 25 years old when we started this one. So, the trips are very different now. Yeah. We've all got kids. I think the oldest son is a junior in high school. So there's been conversation. When do we bring the grandkids in? And it's funny. Some people are like ready to bring them in, or like, just let it as long as possible. And some people just don't care. Do you put an age on it? Colin, my son's ready to go. He's just ready to go a few years ago. And I know there are some others. So we've been thinking about it for a few years, and it's definitely going to have to happen at some point. Like once this one thing that gets in the way is this sports. Like a lot of our kids are playing sports, soccer, football. We do it every fall. So that kind of makes it tough. The kid that's a junior in high school, he's going to Georgetown to play lacrosse. So it's going to be hard for him to ever do it until he's like out of college. So, it might just be individual. We're going to need more than one kid, right? I guess when that kid's out, but it hasn't been an easy thing to figure out because no consensus about. I think if we all wanted our kids to start coming, we could just say, all right. I think the best thing we do is to maybe the grandkids and the sons go down a day or two beforehand, do their own thing if the granddads want to go, and then it's hard to send them home. We go to Florida, or like we talk about going to the Dominican this year. Like, you put your kid on an airplane, 6 on an airplane and fly on up. But I'm in the camp like I'm ready for them to call.
Yeah,
I would love a college game because you know how much longer my dad's gonna be able to walk around a golf. Yeah. Me or him, anybody, anything can happen to any of us, right? So I've had 23 years of going away and being stupid on a golf trip. I'd like to happen. It's hard. I don't know what we'll do, but something. The older they get, the more and more pressure.
So I partially asked that question out of a selfish reason too. It's like, well, maybe we need to start one. And that's a summer trip. Like we do the older, you could do the older folks, quote unquote, with your dad and you. And then, we could start one in the summer months with us. And, I could take, Adam out and you could take Colin out and we can go and have a fun time with, fathers and sons in the summer, when the sports and school are a little more settled down.
Yeah, that's another option that I hadn't thought about a whole lot, is just doing a summer trip.
I do like the idea though of a couple days prior. You still run into the sports issues and all that type of thing, but But like that's how like Go Abundance does it with Fan Abundance, and I've gone to a couple Fan Abundance things, and I really love it. And it's right in front of the normal Go Abundance trip, so that way all of us could fly out together. If my wife and kids need to get back, then they can get back on a plane while I go finish the Go Abundance trip. So it works out well. But I think there's lots of options. I know that my son would really love to go, because I know last time I went, he was a little sad that he did not get to go golf with me. But he golfs more than I do, so he'll probably be winning a lot more than me. So,
and the sooner we break this, the more years we have to beat them.
Yeah, that's true.
Listen, we have a fathers versus sons round, loser buys dinner straight up. I don't know how we would work that far.
I don't know how that would work.
But the more years we get, so I think right now the Suns are up or might be fine 11-11, or the Suns are on 12-10. It's been very close. But if those dads had us when we were in our teens, they would have been pretty far up.
Yeah, no kidding. And I think that's, if nothing else, a valid reason for us to start now, is so that we can make this happen. However, last time Adam was out, he had 2 birdies and a par. And I have it set up to where I pay him for birdies and pars. And it's funny, like the last week we had Aaron on the call, and he had mentioned something about rewarding. I don't remember exactly how it went, but it gave me an idea. I was like, boy, I need to double the money when he scores that birdie after he gets a double bogey or worse, right? So that way it's like, okay, well, you did leave that hole behind, and you were able to focus on this next hole. So that's what I ended up starting to do. And then, of course, the first time I tell him that's what we're going to do, he makes me pay double. So
really,
little rascal.
That's a really good idea. Just about the mindset, right? Forgetting
exactly
failures and move on.
Yeah. And it was, I thought it was an awesome, whatever it was that sparked it was great. So I appreciate Aaron for that, for sure. But when it comes to sports, kind of what lessons are you using from sports, or is it more just like go out and have fun and play sports, or are you trying to like instill some sort of something in your kids? Well, sports in one case with Colin, but not Isabel, obviously with her interests. But
so I always say to Colin, play hard, play smart, have fun, right? So there's things I try and impress. Like before every practice, before every game, I just say, what are the 3 things, Colin? And he'll say, at this age, it's to have fun. It's the most important thing. And, I think that the adversity that he's experiencing this year, just talking to him about, hey, you're gonna go through this. Like, you can only control what you can control. You can't control the coach's decision to put you at this spot, or to put you on the field or not on the field. Like, to just go out, play smart, play hard, have fun, and just control what's within your ability to control it. And things will work out, or they don't, and then we'll figure it out. That's really that we're going through right now. If he was like having all this success, like his head was getting big, then we'd be having different conversations, like, about being humble and stuff like that. So there's a lesson in every, and whether you're playing or not, and or you're not. But I think sports are great, like little microcosm of life, right?
For sure.
Just being on a team, like, in business, or you're on a team, right? There's businesses that are team oriented. So we talked to them about that. A lot of the kids on his team, especially this age, that they're not passing the ball. They're not, they're coming down. They're like, so it's a good thing to be able to talk to them. Like, Colin actually does a really good job of moving the ball and passing the ball and sharing and looking for his teammates. Some of that might be because we're talking to, you got to be a good teammate. Be selfish. It's more about the team success than your individual success. So those are the messages we try.
Awesome. So I realize that I tend to lean more towards the sports and the questions about, I'm sure it's on the other podcast as well, but talking about the boys, because that's all I've been used to for the last 8 years, But tell me a little bit of lessons that you've learned in walking your daughter through a lot of the things that she likes to do. I know you mentioned, like doing the arts things and, dance and music and that type of stuff. So how has that kind of been? And what kind of lessons have you pulled from that for yourself, as you're growing through that? And what sort of lessons would you tell me to think about as I've got a little girl that's getting ready to start changing my life a lot more?
So Isabel, for her, we got to let her go at her own pace. Pushing her, kind of pushing her over the edge.
Mm-hmm.
She's got some anxiety, some social anxiety. She loves to, she got a room in her house where she can go, and it's like her art room. Like, we don't have a room for Colin. But Isabel has a room and a desk.
It's called the front yard. Yeah.
The whole house is Colin's room, right?
Yeah.
A ballroom. So Isabel, so she's different, but she's, a lot of her friends, are joining sports teams and will go to art classes. Like, Isabel doesn't even want to go to she was doing some stuff in school. She didn't do stuff she's very comfortable with, or only do something maybe with some of her friends. So we're struggling a little bit trying to figure out how to get her out of this anxiety. There's some, she's trying to get her out of like the wound kind of thing a little bit. Like, she's very attached to us. And we're still trying to figure that out. We don't want to push her too much because then that pushes her over the edge. She starts breaking down. We're really just giving her space. And at this point, just, let her kind of, I don't want to say do what she wants, but it's more about like safety right now.
Mm-hmm.
She's getting, little by little, she gets better. She used to just go berserk and babysit. That's not anymore. She used to go something nuts when Katie and I were going away for a night and stuff like that. So it's a challenge, and she's there's a lot of kids like her.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think that that's one thing that I tell people all the time when they're like, well, I can't believe how different this person is than that person. They grew up in the same house. Well, no, they didn't. Like, every kid grows up in a different house, because like my oldest started growing up with a mom and a dad. My middle child started growing up with a mom and a dad and an older brother. And now my third child is going to grow up with a mom, a dad, and two older brothers. Like, it's a completely different family, a completely different household. So, trying to understand where the kid's going to be, and like, you meet them where they're at, and you do everything you can to support as a mom and a dad. And, that's all we can do. If nothing else, it will hopefully teach us, patience and adaptability and, that type of stuff for sure. So
you got to go like each kid's own pace, right?
Yeah.
Like, Colin, we're amazed. Like, he's going after this club soccer team, and he doesn't know anybody on the team. He just wants to be on this club soccer team. He's got a friend that is on the team, but we didn't know if he was going to be on the team. And he goes out to tryouts. Like, he's like very brave, right? Very courageous to go out there and what he's doing. And Isabel's like, separation anxiety is the word I was looking for earlier. Yeah. She's the one that still comes in her bed in the middle of the night and asks every night if she can sleep in our bed. And, but it's just letting them go at their own pace.
Yeah.
They're going to develop, at different paces and different, patterns. So just trying to read those and figure those out is the challenge is.
For sure. Yeah. How have you kind of found, to actually, read those and give yourself the grace as you're working through it? Like, has it been difficult to work through? Or have you found it to be semi, like you and your wife tend to, attack it together in a pretty supportive manner?
There's been cold moments. Like, there's mornings that she gets up and she just doesn't want to go. And there's 2 days in a row, and it's like, little things in school will set her off. Like, somebody that isn't being the nicest, a kid being a kid to her. An issue with a teacher last year. That teacher actually ended up getting fired this year. She had to switch classes last year. That teacher ended up being fired because of, it wasn't just Isabel. There was emotional things that she was, emotional type things she was telling her kids.
Well, I think we may have found a problem on where some of this might have started, right?
Well,
goodness.
Isabel always had this anxiety and stuff.
Yeah.
Like this is aspirated. Like it made it like it was the worst. If she was put in the other class from the beginning, I don't know what we would have it was a setback. So that's where like when she has these things, like again, like let her go on piss, like we fight a little bit, we push, like you got to go to school, but then you just realize like best thing for her to do is just to stay home today.
Yeah.
Because it's happened a couple times. Then she'll get one day and she's ready to go to school. But that's the challenge. Push her. What do you do? Like, your kid's got to go to school. Interrupts my wife's entire day and her schedule because now she's got a kid.
Yeah.
But you just gotta feel it out. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong.
Yep.
Try to get
I hear you. That breaks my heart to think about that happening to Isabel at school. Like, I mean, like that teachers like that, and it drives me nuts about, and I mean, was that a public school or private school? Private. Yeah. And so obviously, this is one of the other many reasons that I was looking at homeschooling, but, there are a lot of teachers who really, really want to be teachers and love being teachers. And I think that those are a special group of human beings to do that. And then there are people that just kind of like have no heart in it. They don't and I don't understand, like, go find another job. Like, you've got my kids in your hands for a majority of the day and you want to act like this and treat people like this. And it just boggles my mind that that's out there. But I mean, there's a pain in the butt in every job, every career field. There's always people that are not optimally suited for that position. But like, I don't know, that should be a very, very well paid and respected position that has turned into just like a borderline of government service position. And it's annoying now. But
this teacher was just really tough and had a very distinct way about going things. And honestly, like some kids like thrived under it, right? Maybe like a little, butt kick and not being very, teacher not being very nice, Isabel, the way she is, and there was another girl in the class last year that had a really hard time. Just the way it was it was a chemistry thing, but the teacher, it was, I wouldn't let her go.
Yeah. I remember I had Mrs. Brown in, I think it was second grade. She was just mean. Like, she would put clothespins on people's fingers if they were doing things in class they didn't like, and she would just make them sit there. There's one kid that in second grade, he already had hairy arms, and she didn't like to see him, so she made him wear a long sleeve shirt every day. And I was like, what in the world? Like, it was a dreadful experience. And I was, what's that?
That's like bullying, right? It's
oh yeah, it was rough. And for second grade, like, what the heck? Like, but I started to get a real nervous issue starting around then. And I would literally chew on the ends of my shirt because I was nervous in class, just sitting there trying to be quiet and trying not to do anything wrong. And, like I'd come home, my mom was like, why are your shirts all torn up? And like, and finally, later on, she realized that I was chewing on them. But I was like scared to death sitting in that class. I was like, this is ridiculous. And now, and to me, it's only, and maybe it's just the perspective thing, but it feels like it's only gotten worse on some of the teachers' side of the house. Like they just, I don't know what has happened in the system, but drives me nuts.
I had Mrs. Schmidt in second grade. Same thing.
Something about second grade, apparently.
But I remember hers.
Yeah, Mrs. Brown. I definitely remember her. There's very few teachers I definitely remember the names of, but yeah, that's definitely one of them. I will never forget her. Thankfully, I wasn't in her class very long. We moved before I had to continue too much. But man, oh man, that was a interesting one. But so say what?
You survived. You turned.
I did. I turned moderately okay. Lots of therapy. Lots of therapy. I only wear short sleeve shirts now because it's harder to chew the ends of these. So I don't wear long sleeve shirts anymore, and that's probably because I have hairy arms now. So that's
waxing.
Terrible. Oh man. All right. Well, Frank, I'm going to probably wrap it up. I had an absolute pleasure chatting with you, as I always do. We'll have to do this again tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely make sure my alarm is set. It's only because you missed yesterday that made me miss today. So, but no, I greatly appreciate you jumping on and recording your first podcast. It's who knows when it's going to get released. It's all up in the air at the moment, but when it does, I'll send it to you. But thank you so much. Anything last ideas, thoughts that you had as we were working through this, that you want to share with anybody?
I mean, just for having me on.
Yeah, brother.
One of them, I'm glad it was with you. Couldn't have been anybody better. And,
well, let's not oversell it. I'm sure there's a lot of better people you could have been on, but I appreciate it nonetheless.
I thoroughly enjoyed this and appreciate it. Thank you.
No, I appreciate the good ideas you had. I'm sure a lot of the other dads out here, parents out here that are listening are also going to get something out of it. A lot of people, they have social media and stuff that they want people to follow you at, but you don't really have social media that people should follow you at. Like, let's say we have a business owner or somebody that wants to reach out to you and learn a little bit more, or be coached by you or something like that. How would they get a hold of
you? So my email address is Frank Jr. at UEP is involved in sales, SALES.com. I am on LinkedIn. There are probably only 2 Frank Smollons in the world. Well, actually, there's 3. So it won't be hard to find me. I'm the younger one.
There you go. All the other old ones, don't bother with them. So
it's
all right.
SOLLON.
Awesome. All right. So Frank Jr. at UEPsales.com and Frank Smollon out there on LinkedIn. So, all right, Frank, thank you so very much again for jumping on. And I will talk to you again tomorrow morning, 5 a.m. So, right. Or 5:15 a.m. So,
we can talk about something different.
Absolutely. No dad talk tomorrow. We'll see. All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for listening to the Biz Dad Podcast. We hope you found some value in your time here with us, and we look forward to bringing you the next episode. If you've enjoyed today's show, please subscribe and share so you and your friends won't miss our upcoming episodes. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Rumble, where we continue these discussions and share more valuable content. Be the dad you know you need to be and run your business in a way you're proud to share with your kids. Keep crushing it.